Hello everybody and welcome to elPablo FC. Today we're on the cusp of match week 10 of the Premier League, and we're going to talk about all things we learned from match week 9 or game week 9 of the English Premier League, as Arsenal extended their lead and many stories that brewed in the background as Arne Slot questioned. Arne Slot question emerged. Now we look at the 5 things that we learned from game week 9 in the Premier League. First, game week 9 in the Premier League season ended on Sunday with Tottenham recording a big win away from home at Everton in the final fixture of Sunday, and there were also monumental results on Friday night until Sunday evening. The season is brewing some interesting stories in the background. Liverpool's downfall has continued with a 4th straight defeat, this time away from home to Brentford, which has also begun piling up pressure on Arne Slot. There are also questions asked about the reigning champions and their ability to now mount a concerted title challenge. Man City and Chelsea are another big topic to discuss, with the two teams now, showing inconsistencies in their game, having endured defeats to Aston Villa and Sunderland respectively, and there is a challenge ahead for their managers to get things right or struggle to be irrelevant in any potential Premier League talk about moving forward. Talk moving forward with regards to that. Arsenal are moving along nicely, securing one more set of 3 points in the bag, albeit because of another set piece goal. There are the usual questions about their sustainability, but so far Mikel Arteta's charges are not looking like they are reliant on a specific style of play, even though the stats state otherwise. The upcoming match days could potentially allow the Gunners to extend their lead up to the top, up at the top even further, and position themselves basically strongly ahead of the next international break before a tough run in begins. The big question today is whether Arsenal have any real challengers, and even at this early stage of the campaign. Finally, there are some more key takeaways from the game week, including Rúben Amorim's resurgence at the helm of Manchester United's 3rd win on the bounce. We also kind of end the segment with some chatter on Bournemouth and Sunderland, with some talking points on how they can impact the title race, even though most will believe they are not part of it. Now, first we're going to talk about is Arne Slot. Is our Arsenal to run away with the Premier League title? And that's a very huge question. In the world of social media, we most regard some of the chatter that comes along as the season progresses. It was only a matter of weeks ago when Liverpool fans were suggesting their team could potentially run away with the league as they held a 5-point gap over Arsenal. Fast forward to today, or over a week later, Arsenal are in with a 7-point gap over Liverpool and 6 over the potential contenders Man City. Something Arsenal fans, moaned about last season was the lack of decisiveness in times when they dropped points and when others dropped points and they could not take advantage. The Gunners also have been, different this season, and despite all the criticisms over, the set piece reliance, they are currently the leaders. The distinct difference between Liverpool in the early season and Arsenal now is that the Reds look shaky, leaky, and had a tactical imbalance in their game, or they've had tactical imbalances in their games. Many did predict that they could be hurt in different ways, and that is visible for everyone to see, following a 4th consecutive loss in the Premier League. Conversely, the North Londoners are looking formidable in every sense of the way. The Gunners registered their 4th 1-0 win of the season, and the game against Crystal Palace was by far their toughest of all. The fact that they are scoring from open play does bring, about some criticisms, but that is thoroughly negated by the fact that, they are not conceding chances, let alone goals. The match this past weekend was a third instance where they did not concede a single shot on target, and that could be lauded. On onto the title challenge, onto the title challenge, Arsenal could also have a solid scenario in front of them ahead of games against Burnley and Sunderland. The fact that Manchester City and Liverpool play each other before the international break does guarantee points being dropped by either or both sides, meaning winning the next two games will be imperative for Arteta's side, with a chance of further extending their lead before a tough run in. Now, the next one is Arne Slot's question. That's number two. The Arne Slot question. Basically, fans are already in outrage. The loss against Crystal Palace seen as a one-off, but there were concerns after the defeat against Galatasaray and then Chelsea. Now, the only common theme between these results was the fact. Sorry about that. The fact that all those clashes were away from home, and Liverpool fans had hoped to kick on again at Anfield when they faced Manchester United. Little did they know that Rúben Amorim came packed with the intention to deal a massive blow, as Manchester United won away at Anfield to inflict a third successive Premier League defeat on Liverpool. Now, the fact that Arne Slot has now lost 4 in a row in top flight, which has thoroughly questioned, the club's ability to catch up to Arsenal, has raised even bigger issues and questions. Should Liverpool sack Arne Slot? That's a question. The media doesn't want to talk about it, but fans are already in outrage. This is the question that's emerging at a rapid rate, and many of the Liverpool fans are already on the side of the extreme. Despite the notion that the Dutchman has credit in the bank following a stellar first season at the club, there is a big possibility this perception could be quashed soon. More than results, it's the manager's inability to get the best out of the names in the team that baffles supporters. The lack of defensive discipline, the selection inconsistencies, more importantly, a structure that has seen Liverpool being wide open for teams to exploit, especially when they play their 4-3-3 or 4-2-4. The fact that Slot has repeatedly moaned about set pieces and long throw-ins, while his team has considered many of those goals from the same scenarios, has made him look a bit silly to the outside world, and everybody's talking about it as well. The other thing is that Liverpool currently boast the PFA Player of the Season in Mohamed Salah, 2 British record transfers in Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz, a top striker prospect in Hugo Ekitike, and one of the best defensive midfielders and centre backs in Ryan Gravenberch, questionable, and Virgil van Dijk, questionable as well, making it all the more baffling. Now, Liverpool played Crystal Palace in the EFL Cup, and then after that, they are going to face Aston Villa in the next side, a side that they face at Anfield in the Premier League. Both are seen as crucial fixtures. As at time of recording, Liverpool have been smashed by Crystal Palace 3-0, and they played their young players and all of that. And after that, they face a Champions League game after the Aston Villa game against Real Madrid, and then Man City trip. So it's going to be peppering left, right, and center, with Mbappe being in hot form. In theory, the screws could tighten on Slot if he loses or draws the next 2 games. While a defeat to Real Madrid and Man City could potentially prove catastrophic for Slot at Liverpool. So it's not looking good. It's really not looking good. And Aston Villa also on form. Very pragmatic team as well. With the international break after the trip to Etihad, the club's board could have time to sit back and rethink their stance on the manager, which could also even result in a swift sacking. Now, the next one is Manchester City and Chelsea's inconsistencies. Man City were a 10-game unbeaten run across all competitions, and while they have recently looked like a team possibly challenging Arsenal in the current moment, there have been question marks lingering around their performance. Pep Guardiola's men have played some teams I've played some teams, Man City. Some teams, Man City were widely expected to defeat normally, and some of them, some of their overall performances have come under the microscope. The fact that they have relied heavily on Erling Haaland, and to think about it, Erling Haaland has scored 11 goals, and the rest, next person close to him has scored one goal, one goal, one goal. You know, the next players, so he's the only one that has scored. You know, they rely heavily on Erling Haaland to get the goals. The one game where the Norwegian proved ineffective, his teammates could not even get the job done. Which takes us to another aspect of the situation where Man City's narrow loss away at Villa will not have come as a surprise to many of their fans, given that they have struggled at Villa Park over the last few seasons. However, there was a perception that the team had big momentum in the Premier League title race, which Unai Emery has exposed to be false. You think about it from that perspective. You think about it from perspective of the fact that obviously they won the game in the midweek in the EFL Cup, and they went to the next round. But Guardiola needs to instill some level of consistency in the squad to get going in the title race, and there is a big possibility of them to drop points to Liverpool in the coming days, which could also potentially give Arsenal a massive advantage. Hence, winning is the most important thing for Man City at the moment, although they might have to find a way to be over-reliant on Erling Haaland to get them points in games. So seeing as they are over-reliant on Haaland to get them points in games, it would have to be the only way forward for them. Meanwhile, at least Omar Mamouche is back now, so he played in the midweek. Meanwhile, there are Chelsea, who are, raising even serious questions over the season and credentials to challenge for the title. On paper, Chelsea probably had the easiest start to the season among all the other traditional top six. Looking at the first games of the season, they should ideally have been near the top, but currently they are languishing in ninth in the standings, and Chelsea already 8 points behind the leaders, and they are yet to play Arsenal, Man City, and some other formidable teams. Enzo Maresca's charges have had another big spending summer, and their struggles are particularly because of injury, but their form is also a source of concern. For now, Chelsea look, best placed to fight for a top four place. Title conversations are currently out of question unless they unleash themselves, and bring about the consistency a club of their stature should have. You think about it, they narrowly won 3-2 against Wolves in the EFL Cup, so they seem to be, coming to their own, and it is what it is. They started the young kids like Esteval and Co in the EFL Cup against Wolves, and Wolves are in bad form. So let's see what Chelsea can do, and we'll do the match week preview. Now Rúben Amorim feels at home. That's another one. That's the fourth point. Rúben Amorim feels at home. Manchester United have finally broken their jinx of not winning back-to-back games since the start of last season. It's taken a while, but Rúben Amorim has done, what seemed difficult for a long time, and then added a third win on the bounce at the weekend against Brighton. Ideally, one would expect Manchester United to win games at Old Trafford against oppositions like Brighton and Hove Albion, but this result carries significance, specifically under Rúben Amorim. There have been some good performances against the big sides, home and away, but then the Red Devils lost to teams like Brighton, even at Old Trafford, and they were so confident when they came to play that game. While this win over Brighton is it's only one single instance, there is a chance that there's a chance for Amorim to build momentum from here on. The sample size might be small, but there is growing hope that Manchester United could challenge for a top four, something that seemed impossible following their losses earlier in the campaign. And you think about it, 9 games, 5 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. That's peak. But it looked like Man United were in crisis. Meanwhile, there are other teams who are losing four games on the spin. For now, Amorim feels like he's home and growing something that could benefit Manchester United in the short and long term. There are some key games ahead. And should the Red Devils keep up their performances like the ones against Brighton, there's no denying that they could be one of the favourites, to qualify for the Champions League places next season. And the truth is, with the way things are going, we have to just for Manchester United, take one game at a time. Take it one game at a time. And then the next one, on the last one, not last but not least, is Bournemouth and Sunderland case. For the Bournemouth and Sunderland case, we'll be talking about Bournemouth, who are currently second after a stellar victory over a struggling Nottingham Forest side at the Vitality Stadium over the weekend. Last weekend, when they scored a late goal away at Crystal Palace, they momentarily went top of the Premier League, only for the hosts to deflate their mood with a late equalizer. However, Andoni Raiola's side made amends with a win over Nottingham Forest, which allowed them to climb to second place, overtaking Sunderland in the process. No, now now Sunderland were second following their late victory at Stamford Bridge, which saw Regis Lebris receive incredible praise for how he has had his team performing in the top flight. Despite the fact that Bournemouth and Sunderland are occupying second and fourth places respectively, there's no one here considering them as ones who can challenge for the title. What they can do is disrupt the Premier League challenge in a way that would potentially benefit Arsenal. The theory is that should Bournemouth and Sunderland manage to keep hold of their current positions for the few more weeks, Arsenal could potentially use them as a cushion to improve their lead at the summit. Mathematically, their presence won't change much in terms of points, but those teams could also increase the pressure of the likes of Man City and Liverpool to a certain degree, with benefits, which also benefits the Gunners. So, yeah, what do you guys think about the 5 things we learned? We'll try and do more of these as we go. The next video you're going to watch is probably going to be the week review and all of that. You just let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United, football, Premier League, Champions League, and everything in between. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.